Good morning, Sint Maarten. What's cooking? What's up? Gonna have a little chat this morning with MP Camper because there's a lot to be discussed, a lot of things to be said. Congresses held, fake smiles put in front of us now. But like they say, what goes up comes down for sure. And when I look outside, it's a little cloudy now. We had a great weekend though, I must say. Making 60 was a great thing. I enjoyed the various parties. I can't say I had one party because my person stating that I was out there saying certain things to people. But again, it is what it is. I had a great show. Had a great 60th birthday last week, Wednesday. Celebrated it in a surprise party. I was surprised on Saturday, I believe it was. I had a great surprise. I thought I was going to eat at a fancy restaurant. Ended up at Cocky Turtle, where my son and daughter, wife, and a group of conspirators held a surprise party for me where I must say, I truly enjoyed it. Concerned about 136 people that we have that should have been in prison but can't go to prison yet because the prison is not up to par. Let me ask this question aloud because every year, 25 million euros is given to the TBO, RST, and the Public Prosecutor's Office to investigate and with the goal to lock up people in Sint Maarten. Why don't take that money, go and fix the prison before you continue with this nonsensical thing of continuously kicking in people's doors and then letting them go after 2-3 years. So maybe we can use that money better and have a proper prison built so that the people that have been incarcerated by the justice system are incarcerated under human rights conditions and not the conditions that they have in Point Blanche, because those conditions do not meet the human rights standards. If we like it or not, that's a factual something. So again, instead of running around trying to lock up politicians and high-ranking people that are willing to open their mouths in this community, maybe we can use the money better to fix it. I mean, the Dutch themselves have a lot of problems with the way that money is being used anyway. So maybe this is the right opportunity to do something good with the money, like fixing our prison. I was, how would I say, not really surprised when I read the article that the King of the Netherlands, His Majesty, asked for some more time and for us to be more patient so that an independent investigation can take place into the role of the royal family, into the colonial history, into the slavery, into the slave trade. That's what it's about. It's not about anything else in the colonials. It has to do with the slavery. Well, I find it a pity because we all know who the owners were of the West Indies Company. The royal family was an owner. The West Indies Company is the one that handled the slave trade for the Dutch. People like Michiel de Ruiter and all of them that were big heroes were slave traders. So we have recognized slave traders as heroes in the Dutch history. Not necessarily our history, but the Dutch mainland. Let's call it the Netherlands history. There are many heroes in there that were big slave drivers and worked for the West Indies Company. So, like it or not, these are facts. It's a pity. Look, I believe, and I will continue saying this, accept that it was so, and how you want to fix it, that's a different story. But saying you need patience and more time to see what the role was, you had a role. You owned the company, for God's sakes. You had a role. Nowadays, we just convict people for owning companies, even if they didn't have a role. So, what's the big thing, Your Majesty? What's the big thing? Let's move on, man. I want to congratulate the Port of Sint Maarten and Argos Cement with the 2 new outdoor sporting facilities that they have been building to promote an active and healthy lifestyle. One park is located behind the Pasangrang Hotel area, and one park is created down in the Belvedere area. I think these are great initiatives because these are industrialized types of outdoor parks. We have one also up there by Emilio Wilson. I think there was a park built there besides the football, the little mini football field they have up there. There was a nice little outdoor park built there, and many people do exercise there, I must say. So, you know, congratulations to them for doing that. I'm also very happy that the flowers were given to those that deserved it on Labor Day. While many people were jamming in the streets of Sint Maarten because that was the big parade day, there was a group of people that were at the DV Hotel, and they recognized 4 persons that really made a difference in the labor world, and they were bestowed their honors while alive. And I think that's a very good something, that we give the people their flowers when they can still smell the flowers. So thank you all very much who were involved, and to the recipients, I must say congratulations, well deserved. Now, let me make a public call to the Ministry of VROMI. I need you all to pay attention to the old Gilbert building. That building is dilapidated. That building needs to be torn down. When I was there, I can recall they started an action to have the inner walls pulled down and pulled inwards, because it has been standing there now for over 25 years, unused. There was a section underneath that Radio Shack used to use, but the bulk of the building is unused because the roof blew off, the whole building was basically destroyed. Now, during the carnival, a chunk of concrete fell. And thank God it did not hit the lady in the head, because I wouldn't be talking so freely, because it would have been a very serious incident then. But she was struck with it and she needed medical attention. And I want to call on VROMI to get to the owners of this building and have the necessary demolitions done, the necessary boarding off done, because a lot of people stand under the little terrace there that the building has in front of it for shade, for buses, you know. A lot of people stand there, but it is extremely dangerous. And there was an incident. So I'm calling on the Ministry of VROMI, the inspection department. Maybe they can do the work first, and then the infrastructure department can see what they can assist with. But what we got to be very careful with is that we don't leave it the way it is, and then we have a very serious incident after the fact, and people get hurt and are killed. On a totally different breath, let me congratulate the USRM and the National Alliance on their Congress's unveiling of their logos. You know, I'm happy that many of them have now realized the party to beat is the Now Party. Now they're starting to talk about it, and that's interesting. I didn't expect it, but it was very interesting when I heard it. So again, it's clear that something is happening. Elections are starting to get into gear. We are in May. If all is well, we should have elections in January. I don't think we're going to reach January, but hey, let's hope that at least we move forward. I was pleasantly surprised, though, to see some pictures circulating with leadership faces smiling with each other when you know they can't stand each other and they don't want to be with each other. But again, when you see a slogan, "We are one," then you have to wonder what kind of one we're talking about. But I think time will show what kind of one it is. I think for now, I was surprised. I laughed a little bit when I saw it. And I didn't laugh because I think they're bad people. I just laughed because the hypocrisy is going to have to show. There was a picture that clearly showed all the prune faces. How certain people were standing in that picture, it said a lot. But again, like I said, politics is starting. The lies are going to increase significantly, and that's what I want to warn for, because we have a policy in government right now. It's called lying. They lie so much that you can't distinguish what is truth and what is lie anymore. They have confused so many people. I mean, I think the leader of the USRM said that the country's in disarray. It's a total mess. I think, well, he put it nicely. He used nice words. But I think we're in a very bad situation right now. And we all know that. Everybody that has a little insight in what's happening in this country would understand that we are not in a good position. And we are not going to be in a good position for a while, because the world economy isn't allowing that either. You know, but again, I didn't see many new faces politically. I saw a lot of old faces again. So I hope, though, that, you know, we get some more new people into politics, that we don't have old faces and new parties or vice versa, because then we don't really help each other. But nevertheless, I'm happy that things are starting to roll and people will be informed accordingly to what's going to really happen, what the plans are, and we'll see from there where we go. I hope also on the airport now that Miss Jack will be put back to work. I noticed Baby Doll from TLM has started working today at the airport in the finance department. Let's see how long it's going to take before they shift her over to the PR department. So it's a matter of time. It's a matter of time. We know that because the taking down and taking out of locals at the airport, that's factual. We have a few pretenders that walking around there doing as if, oh, they're for we. They're not for we. They definitely are not for we. I've said it before. I'm going to continue saying it. And not because a few jet bridges are working now and you're putting up a cooling system means you're doing anything. The airport should have been ready already. There's a lot that can be said about it. I'm not going to waste my time today on that. I just hope to see Miss Jack back at the airport soonest. Now, I have a few things that I want to touch today. And I think one or two of them might even touch VROMI. But the problem we're having now is this front page news article we had where workers, and with workers we're talking about the VROMI workers and the septic truck workers and the public at large, especially the Belvedere Dutch Quarter public, are at risk of waterborne diseases. And the waterborne diseases are through the sewage. Now, why am I saying this? The Minister of VROMI for the past 3+ years has seen the Dutch Quarter project go no place, the sewage project. It went no place. Contractor came in, contractor left, contractor gone to court, but nothing happens. Then they're going to do this, then they're going to do that, then they're going to do this. Nothing happens. Elections coming now. So they're going to try some stupid stunt, most probably, because they're not going to fix it. The fixing is simple. The main sewage line that was laid needs to be put in line. The old line, the pump pits are given out. They were built back in 1998, people. Those pumps have lived their lives. There is nothing no more you can do with them. A lot of the pits, I worked them. They were built as cheap as they could. Coatings on the insides were left off because what you don't see, you don't know. Because they needed to get it operational. Those days, when I was part of that project, when they were building it together with my then boss, Mr. Dollison, we objected to certain things and we were kicked off the project by the then government, led by the today NE. So nothing against nobody, but the fact of the matter is that the present project is now 3 years delayed. Sewage is running all over. Pumps are not working anymore. Pump pits are collapsing. So what do you get? They leave all the sewage water pile up in a pit in Belvedere, an open pit. A pit that was built for when you have a calamity and you shutting down your lines so that you don't have to pump during the middle of a hurricane, for example, because you lose power anyway. Your pump pits go down. You don't have generators there. That pit is to catch the water, and as soon as the weather has passed, you get on there with pump trucks, you pump it out and you go with it. It has now become a daily swimming pool. Every day they are pumping from there. That's what the Daily Herald wrote and put in their newspaper. Put the pictures of the trucks moving. This is not an enclosed pit. This is an open pit. And when it goes over its banks, it runs down in the open trench by Belvedere all the way down to Pont de Saline in French Quarter. That's what it is. That's what this article is about. And the minister can say whatever he feels like, but he has no clue. He has no clue what sewage is all about. He was pounding his chest some time back there how he's saving this country a lot of money because he stopped the sewage contract. You made a complete disaster out of it. A complete disaster. You know what they're doing right now? They're tendering it. They're tendering the same sewage contract to the same people that had it before. That's what's happening. We can pretend and come out and talk in the media, oh, it's this and they know this and it oh, it's this and it oh, it's that. No. You messed up something that was working because you thought you knew better. What you have shown the public of Sint Maarten is you have no clue how to govern. None whatsoever. You messed up the garbage. You messed up the district cleaning. You messed up the trenches. You messed up the sewage. You messed up the housing. Anything you put your hand on, you have messed up, including GB. Because you got GB where it is today with your nonsense. But again, it ain't finished. Because months ago, I called the Ministry of VROMI and I said, there is so much sewage water running on the LB Scott Road. School children walking there every day. It's running 24/7. Nobody could tell me they don't know where this water is coming from, for God's sakes. I don't want to mention people's name on my program. But either you are going to do something, or I'm going to mention where it's coming from and who's protecting whom. Because this is utter nonsense what's happening. You all are going to make people sick for nothing. You can't have 30 apartments dumping sewage water on the road 24/7 and you do as if you're blind. We know better, do better. I'm not telling you that it can't happen, but now it's permanent. It's running there every day. It used to be once a week when they pump. Now it's every day. They just decided to leave it open. Government ain't doing nothing anyway. But maybe, let me make a public call to the Minister of ASR. Maybe you can solve it, sir. Maybe you can send inspectors up there and deal with the matter. Because clearly, the Minister of VROMI ain't going to do nothing about it. He can't. He just doesn't know how to. So maybe you can help us, because this irresponsible behavior because of party politics and promises is craziness. We really, really have to stop it, because it's going to hurt this country more than it's going to help this country. Beacon Hill, not a big story in the newspaper. Pre-sale of apartments despite administrative appeal against the permit. Now this is a comical one. Why do I say comical? Because if there was an administrative appeal that would have taken place, it should be handled. It should have been handled, the administrative appeal. But it seems up until today, it has still not been handled. Now you see what's happening here? It's legally a quagmire. The gentleman, the developer, he is selling things that he ain't built yet. So when you object to a building, but there's no building. So they objected to a building permit. A building permit where the covenant of the area said single family homes. That was the usage. The usage seems to have been changed by the minister, which I believe is his prerogative, if it is in the well-being of the country. But to go and put 12 more apartments there on 3 house lots, and you don't have parking, you don't have one way in, one way out traffic there because how narrow the roads are. I don't understand why you give the permit. Because I'm going to do something that I normally wouldn't do. Because I don't think the gentleman deserves my help. But in point blank, they got to knock it down. They got to do this. They got to do that because they built it wrong. And the same things about parking and traffic and this and that is being used there by this same minister who was in the court case. And down in Beacon Hill, you're turning a blind eye. Why? Why is that? Because it goes further in Beacon Hill. This part of this administrative appeal right now is one thing. But remember, there's also another building, the Phoenician or something like that, with 30 apartments, where a 6-story building that is. This other one here is a 4-story building, I understood. Where, again, permits are granted that don't fit in the environment or in the surroundings. Beacon Hill has been so commercialized, I will say that single family homes don't look like single family homes no more. The way I used to know them 30 years ago, because I used to be in Beacon Hill a lot. I used to go down there a lot because it was great wilking over there. Today, everything is built up, everything is closed off, you can't even reach to the beach. You can't reach to Burgundy Beach. Everything closed off. But there's a public beach behind there. But nobody talks about that because it's not important. Everybody wants to talk about the bad things. That this is built, but I want to talk about the beach. How do we get to the beach? How does the public of St. Maarten get to Burgundy Beach? Because the government is responsible for free access. But there's none. There's none there. Because when I was working public works, and we had to put the water of the street into the sea, we had to go through people's homes and yards. We had to ask people, grant us the right of passage to build drains through their yards into the sea. Because there was no free passage from government anymore. But it doesn't take away the problem that we are now having with Villa Sasha. Because a villa with 12 apartments, 6 2-bedrooms and 6 single is not a villa, but most probably Hotel Sasha or Boutique Hotel Sasha. Only God knows what it is. But it's not a house. It's 12 apartments. And the question is, why are we doing that? And that the minister doesn't even have the decency to answer the pride of Beacon Hill, that they had to go to the ombudsman, who has now, in April or March last year, notified the minister, because I was in the media also, that they're going to start an investigation, since the minister found it unnecessarily to answer the ombudsman, because according to him, the ombudsman is against him, and all she is doing is making his life miserable. But for one minister to have 3 systemic investigations done against him says something about the minister, not about the ombudsman. It says something about the minister and the government allowing a minister to behave that way. Because the ombudsman is a high council, if you like it or not. But we have absolutely no respect for some of these. So again, you see, we need to understand how this permit came along, who reviewed this permit, etc., etc. Because court cases are going to come out of it. And again, we're going to get ourselves in problems as country when people are out there selling something, a dream to people. Three of the apartments have already been sold. So 25% of the building has been sold. Not a block has been laid yet. 25% has been sold. And this permit is in appeal. And the appeal hasn't even been done yet. Because you have, by law, 6 weeks after a permit is granted, the right to appeal. But how long is it going to take for the permit or for the appeal to take place so that we know where we are? Are we going to have a point blanche part 2 where it ends up in courts and now a demolition order is basically being to remain? Yeah, I have switched over, so I am looking good again. Yeah, I should be back up again now, people. I think I switched over from the internet. Too much of hooking and pushing on the internet. Animal cruelty has no place in Sint Maarten. I am a staunch believer that if you can't take care of an animal, don't have an animal. I have a few dogs at home. I love my dogs, even though sometimes they pee in the house and get me upset. But I don't chain my dogs outside in the hot sun with no water or shade. I feed my dogs, and I know dog food is extremely expensive. I know that. I could tell you because I shop for it. And sometimes you wonder if it is cheaper to feed a human being than it is to feed an animal. Because dog food could cost you up to 160 guilders for a bag, a 55-pound bag. It's crazy. Dog food that used to cost 40, 50 guilders now costs 100 guilders. So yes, I understand people might be having it tough, but there's no need for you to treat your animal wrong. Rice ain't that expensive. Feed him some rice then. Rice with a little stay-overs, a little sauce or so. The dog can be happy. Fence up your yard, people. You can't have dogs running around, being a nuisance to the neighbors, the neighborhoods, fighting with other animals. Fence up your yard. Or fence up a piece of your yard where the animals could be. They can roam freely. Make sure they got shade. Make sure they got fresh water. Nothing difficult in that. And if you cannot afford it, take the animal to a location that takes care of them, maybe to the vet, spay the animal, sterilize the animal, but don't dump the animal by the garbage bin. I saw that about 2 weeks ago in St. John's, a beautiful. So at least there's something we can do. I noticed my cousin telling me here, please mention as well that there are free sterilizations available on the Dutch side via all of the animal welfare foundations. So people, you see, it's for free. You don't have to throw away the dog, throw him down by the dump, throw him by a garbage bin, or leave him someplace on the beaches. So don't do that, man. Don't do that. Please don't do those things. These are animals. They have feelings. They have emotions. And there's no better friend than an animal, you know. Animals are loyal to the core. To the core. And it breaks my heart when I see what we are doing. But you know what? I think it's time for us to have a law where all animals must be microchipped, so we will know who the animal belongs to. French side, that's the way it is. Dutch side, it ain't so yet. But maybe that's something that as soon as I get back in, I will pick back up once again, because I have somebody right now working on the animal law as it is in Curacao, but that it fits into the Sint Maarten law, because we have a law where animal cruelty is punishable by law. And I want to make a call to the public prosecutor's office and to the police office that when you get these complaints, yeah, the fine might be 55 guilders, 75 guilders, 100, 300, whatever. Find the people, put their names up so that people know what's going on. But we gotta stop it. We gotta start someplace, people. We can't just keep not worrying about it, turning our face because, oh, it's an animal, it's but an animal. No, no. It's a living creature. It has life. You don't have the right to treat them that way or take away their lives. You don't have that right. And honest to God, if you don't want to do nothing for the animals, then at least get out of the way so that those that want to do something can do it. Government. So, when you ask, does tourism really build wealth? I see that I'm getting, that I'm frozen again. Am I still frozen? Or I'm running again? Okay, thank you. Does tourism really build wealth? Now, I had the pleasure of reading an editorial published by the Barbados Today on April 26th, 2023. So that's the source of this story, which placed me in a mindset to discuss it here today and start looking at things from a different perspective. Remember, all we have is tourism. And all we boast about is that 74% of our employees, our working force, earns less than 3,000 guilders. All we boast about is that we have 8,000 families looking for a home. All we boast about is that 42% of our population didn't even finish secondary school. All that we can boast about is that 53% of our population earns minimum wage. And the one industry that we have is tourism. So does tourism really build wealth? The impact on tourism in Barbados and in the wider Caribbean has been a topic of discussion for years. And it is groups like the SHTA, the Caribbean Hotel, the CTO, that can give you a good answer. Not necessarily a fair answer, but a good answer. Because it depends on which side of the fence you stand. When you ask the question, does tourism build wealth? For investors, for people that are building timeshare units, vacation rentals, sure, it's building great wealth for them. But for the people that are earning less than 3,000 guilders, don't have a home, can't afford much things in life, it isn't really building any wealth. And this is the discussion that you must have. We have to have this discussion. Do we continue with tourism? Yes, we do. But we must agree that we need to diversify. We cannot only live off of tourism. The golden age of Mullet Bay, of the late 70s and 80s into the early 90s, is tachon passé. It's gone. It's really gone. The high-end wealthy tourists we had coming here in bulk is gone. Sure, we have a few. They go to Belmont, La Samana on the French side. We have a few of them. The bulk lands here with their private jets, or they come in first class airlift, jump on Winair or any other one, and they either go to Sint Maarten or they catch the little ferries behind the airport and they go to Anguilla directly to their resorts. In Anguilla, there's even a resort that flies in a 737 weekly from New York. That's why I was so thankful to the Minister of TIAT last week, telling him, thank you for bringing in the business seat 737 aircraft out of the New York area once a week also. Because That is high-end tourism. That's what we need. But again, does tourism build wealth? And the question is, today. Because in the 70s, it surely did. A lot of people that worked in the casinos built their homes off of the tips they got out of the casinos. Build apartments that today they rent and they can sit back and enjoy their retirement. So yes, it did build wealth. Let us not say it never did nothing for this country, because then we will be hypocrites. But today, the industry is not building wealth, in my opinion. The industry is creating poverty, in my opinion. And this is something we have to look at. Politically, we're going to have to come together, if we like it or not, and say, okay, how do we tackle this? How do we deal with this? Because it is nice to say you have 2 million cruise passengers. But if the money stays in Miami with all the tours paid and peanuts are dropped in Sint Maarten that puts a strain on this infrastructure, then you must ask yourself, are we getting wealthy? Is it worth the effort? Again, depending on which side of the fence you sit, this question will be answered differently. And Jamila says statistics shows this as well, but the tourism office and those in power been delusional and turned a blind eye as well. And I have to agree with you on that statement. Maybe not fully yet, but I do believe that statistics have shown it. The thing is, we don't have enough data to pave that way yet. But like I said, there are thinkers in the Caribbean like the economist Marla Ducaron, who is questioning whether the industry is truly beneficial or is perhaps a decoy for yet another phenomenon of the reverse flow of wealth from the poorer nations of the South to the rich North. Again, it depends where the developers come from, that this will play the role that the economist Ducaron is talking about. But in her latest economic newsletter, Ducaron argues that the tourism industry is a net drain on foreign exchange and may also be a fiscal drain, although there is admittedly a lack of data available to confirm this. Now, again, foreign exchange by us is the US dollar. That's what we pegged our money on. We cannot say that we have an issue with foreign exchange right now. We are above the margins we have to be, and the margins are normally, I believe, central bank standards at 3 months, and I think we are at 5 months. We have 5 months reserve. So I think we are okay. But it doesn't mean to say when there's a pandemic that you're still okay. Because when nothing is coming in, but everything is going up, and we are lucky that the money that we are getting in is primarily the US dollar. And because we have the French side, we have a steady flow of the euro. Sint Maarten is very different when it comes to that aspect to many other islands in the Caribbean, or many other countries in the Caribbean. So again, like I said, there are a few things that I agree with it, but like I said, not everything that is stated in that article implies by us. The one thing that implies is that, in my opinion, the tourism that we have is creating poverty and not wealth. And that has to do basically with the type of tourists we have. When we used to have the high-end rollers, we used to make a lot more money than we have it right now. Now remember, when you look at the overall tourism product in Sint Maarten, you will notice that everything that comes in via the cruise is normally sold on the cruise ship. There's maybe 10% that walks off and does its own thing. But majority of the people, they buy their island tours. So that's why sometimes you hear the taxi drivers complaining, because T plates and G plates, everything is, those are prepaid tours. That's what they are. And for taxis to get into that, they'd have to make concessions with the ships. I know they even did that once too, where that was, how that worked out, I don't know. But again, like I said, it's different. It's different for every island. For us, I need to understand better in Sint Maarten how it really works. When I look though at the newsletter of the Economist, you realize that the countries like Barbados and the Bahamas, their foreign exchange controls incentives earners of the United States dollars to hold on to their dollars. Now, because we don't have that issue, because our whole economy is basically a dollarized economy, and our gilder, our Caribbean gilder to be, that is just something that we will pay the government-owned companies and the government employees with. But all the businesses, they don't pay with guilders, they pay with dollars. 90% of the Sint Maarten businesses pay their employees in dollars because that's what they get. So our issue of holding on to the dollar, no, that's all we have. We have dollars or euros. The guilder very seldomly floats into a restaurant. It goes to pay insurance. It goes to do groceries with. If you have a Bankomatico, it's the Bankomatico you're using. So, you know, that's the cashless economy. So it goes from one account to a different account. But it doesn't circulate in the economy. It's just from account to account. While it is a type of circulation, yes, when I say circulate, it ain't going from hand to hand. That's what I mean. Now, while tourism may generate low-wage jobs and economic activity, it may also constitute a net fiscal drain, as governments across the Caribbean tend to give concessions and other incentives to the tourism sector. What she said there is what we do. We give concessions. We give a lot of concessions. Now, the government, they give airport and harbor. But besides that, what's happening in the operations with cruise ships and all that, that's why cruise ships don't pay tax here. While they earn their money here on all these tours that are happening, because they sold the tour. But they sell it in such a way that the Sint Maarten company is the operator. So they're the ones that pay tax. So the bulk of the money, because they sell a tour for $100, they pay the operator $40, the $60 is untaxed, while it is made here. The $40 is taxed because the operator has to declare that. But the total of 100 minus the 40, so the 60, that stays in a bank account in America or wherever they have their accounts. That's the cruise industry, people. That's how simple it is. We don't see the bulk of the money. We don't see it. So again, there are things that we have to start looking at and saying, how do we deal with these things? And, you know, will the cruise ships make it difficult? They're a very powerful organization. The FCCA is a very, very powerful organization. They have sent home ministers because the minister said they're going to raise the head tax in the country throughout the Caribbean. So yes, it can happen. These are very powerful groups, and just like how you have the gun lobbyists in America that will continue to lobby, and no matter how much mass murders we have, no matter how much children are shot and killed, they will continue standing that the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, is more important than telling people they can't have a gun to go out and kill in mass. It is what it is, people. These are the realities of the world that we need to start understanding. Because I hear people talk, oh, we're going to change this, oh, we're going to, you're going to change nothing, you're going to do nothing. If you cannot beat those that are in charge, If you can't have a fallback position to say, okay, I ain't gonna do this or I ain't gonna do that, then you have to do what's being done right now. And that's why I'm saying be careful sometimes when you open your mouth and you don't know what you're talking about. Because it might sound nice, but it can be detrimental to the country. So again, we need to understand what the impact is of tourism on the economy in our country, on the jobs, the net foreign exchange earnings, and the net fiscal review perspective. And I tried to show you just now with numbers, etc., where we stand a little bit with it. But the bottom line is, for us, every dollar that we get here, we need to see how much remains here. Because we have so many foreign workers that send their money to their homes in their countries to take care of their families. And then you get a drain, you get a fiscal drain that is tied directly to tourism. Because the tourism job is that low income job, that little bit of money they make, they still send home to take care of their families because their economies are weaker than ours. There's a lot to be said in that report. But again, like I said, I think it's best to look at ours and see where, we can really find common grounds. But the way I see tourism right now, I don't see it as the thing to build wealth in Sint Maarten. I think it is something that gives a job, but it isn't a wealth builder. And the problem I have, the problem we're going to have to deal with now this election, is that we have a lot of these leaders in this country that are addicted to votes of the low-wage earners, and they will do anything to address the electorate on why we should keep it so that they have a job and they can send home money. But they are living in poverty. They live here in poverty to help over there. But we got to be honest with ourselves. They are doing us a great disservice for persisting with an industry that is currently set up not to create wealth. The tourism we have today is not here to create wealth. It is here to keep the wealthy wealthy. But the wage earners, the minimum wage earners, the below the regular livable wage earners, 74% of this country at this point in time is below the livable wage. And we only have tourism to show. Like I said, the glory days are gone. The days when we had the offshore markets are gone. But those were the days when a lot of people in Sint Maarten were doing much better than they're doing today. They were higher paying jobs. The jobs that we have today are low income jobs. Those are the tourism based jobs. I have no other way to put it for you. I don't want to lie to anybody and believe that, we got to look at it. I would love tomorrow that we go to the Sabre Bank and see if there's gas. I would love tomorrow that we bring back the offshores to Sint Maarten, that we diversify our financial services much more, that we go in to agriculture, fisheries, and animal husbandry, and that we build a sustainable food bank for our people, so that in bad times we can provide for ourselves. And in good times, we can provide for others and make a profit off of it. Because at the end of the day, our nation should be given the opportunity to become wealthy. That's the now. That's what the now stands for. So we can talk a lot of things, but we need to understand what's happening. That we have a decline in air travel, that's factual. Check the tickets. I can travel from Sint Maarten to Curacao or Aruba for $200-300 maybe, and buy a ticket from Aruba to New York for another $300. That's $600-700. And if I buy it from here to New York, I pay $1,200. That's the nonsense that's going on. I don't know enough about it. I've been asking a lot of questions about it, but I haven't gotten the answers yet about it. And that's why at this point in time, I don't want to dive into it yet. But we need to diversify. Point, period. And if we don't do that, and we continue to only talk about tourism, this country will remain poor. It will not become wealthy. Because we are not the ones investing, because we are not the ones getting those type of loans anymore. That's factual. Did you know? In this Did You Know, I was called, last week I spoke about contractors or tenderers that were in touch with the law and had a conviction, irrevocable conviction, were not allowed to participate in tenders. And they told me they didn't understand, if I could please explain this again. So here go, people. I said last week that people that had a conviction, an irrevocable conviction, any kind of conviction, would not be able to participate in the tender of the district cleaning. And they told me, no, but that's not correct. And I said, yes, it is correct. And I said it is correct because the article in the tender, Article 5.12, which speaks of the exclusions, was very, very specific. The Minister of VROMI had this article inserted in the tender. He had it inserted. Council of Ministers approved it. And I'm going to explain to you why I say he had it inserted. Because that's going to be the neck breaker just now. He said, oh, I am the one against all these young boys and this and this. In 2012, I was approached by the then MP, Romain Laville. He was a little radical young fellow. He came to me, he said, Mr. Van Camper, as head of public works, I want to talk to you. I would like you to find work for the boys in the district. I said, okay. And what kind of work would they like to do? Oh, any kind of work. He is going to make sure that they can get a loan, buy equipment, or whatever they need. I said, great. So we started with, I think it was trench cleaning. I think that was the first contract. I'm not sure. Mr. Laville, the MP, came with boys from the soccer garden area. That's where it started. Soccer garden, Belvedere, mid-region area. That's where it started. And in 2012, those boys them started to work for government. They got small little jobs, clean this, clean that, just to see how they would go. We pay them on the fixed rates we had. So after a while, we realized they could handle it. Their weakest points were always their accounting, making a proper price calculation. But in short times, I must honestly say, they came the garbage collection. Garbage collection used to be done by 4 big contractors on the island. And we asked that we asked the government that we would like to split the garbage collection that also had all the streets, roadside cleanings and everything in it, then we could split it and create 13 contracts for district cleaning and 8 contracts for garbage collection. So from 4 contracts, we would like to go to 21 contracts and make sure that everybody can get some work. That too was done, and many more contractors were put to work instead of just 4. Now, that's to give you a little history on where it was and where it stayed until 2020 when I left. When I left, in the beginning, everything was going okay. Then the minister said, we have no clue what we're doing with tendering, and he's going to do the new tendering, etc., etc. And this tender document was born. And in this tender document, Article 5.12, exclusions, the following is written. Point 1. Tenderers shall be excluded from participation in procurement procedures if 1. They are civil servants, 2. They are bankrupt or being wound up or having their affairs administered by the court, have entered into an arrangement with creditors, have suspended business activities, are subject of proceedings concerning these matters, or are in any analogous situation arising from similar procedures providing for national legislation or regulation. 3. They have been guilty of grave professional misconduct proven by any means which the principle can justify. 4. They have not fulfilled obligations related to the payment of Social Security contributions or the payment of taxes in accordance with the legal provisions of country Sint Maarten. 5. They have been subject of a conviction by definitive judgment for fraud, corruption, involvement in a criminal organization, or any other illegal activity. By putting that last one in, you have automatically, because you didn't set a time frame, so for the minimum of 5 years at least, or 10 years depending on the crime, that your record is expunged, that person cannot partake in a tender. Don't go tell people, Bangkampa do that. You, Egbert Jorandi Duran, you did it with the Council of Ministers because they approved this tender. They approved the terms of reference. They did. Not Bangkampa. You and the Council of Ministers. So please, when you want to lie about these things, do it good. I told you I'm going to expose you. But you know, people, you know where things went totally wrong? If this was the minister's position, that he didn't want convicted persons to work, then why didn't he do it with the garbage collection? We know for a fact that one of those contract holders has been criminally convicted. But he didn't do it there. Why? Why didn't you do it there? Come out and talk about it now. You want to play these games? I can play them very well. I told you, I know how it's going to end. I know how this is going to end. I could tell you that. You want to play a game of cat and mouse? Well, guess what? I'm going to be the dog. I'm eating both of you. And the cat and the mouse. Because you're playing a very, very dangerous game, son. Very dangerous. When you look at the articles of the terms of reference, it said in article, and let me pull it up, article 8.1, that only one parcel could be awarded to a family or a household. Yet we know that that was changed because there are tenderers in there that have 3 parcels. And it's not about a contractor. I'm happy for them. But it's about the way you do things and then start to pretend as if it's other people doing it. I don't have no interest in none of them's contract. I ain't trying to take away none of their contracts. What I'm trying to do is highlight the way you are doing things. Because you're the one walking around telling people A, B, C, D when you know you're lying. And that's what needs to be exposed. Not interested in the contractors. Because if you all take their contracts from them, you all going to have to pay them out their contracts. And then give other people contracts, which means you're going to be paying double for the same work. But maybe that's your plan. Free money for the boys. Campaign money. Maybe that's the plan. I don't know. But don't blame me for it and don't put me into your nonsense. Because I ain't going to lay down and play dead. I'm going to hit back and I'm going to hit back hard. And if you don't know how good I be, go ask your leader. They're going to tell you how good I be. Now, I read another article that caught my attention. That was an article written by the governor, where the governor was somewhat taken aback that there were no persons put forward for a royal decoration this year in Sint Maarten. We know there's a committee, there's a royal decorations committee, and they normally put forward names. And the governor alluded to it a little bit because he said there were so many different organizations, civic organizations, and I am thinking VKS, civic groups, sports organizations, teachers, nurses, police officers, firefighters that go the extra mile on the job and off the job, organizations that take care of our roaming animals for years on end and pay for it out of pocket, people that go around in their spare time taking care of elderly people in the shut-ins, not as a job, but because they truly care for their community, community groups, the center groups and all that, people that go out and give food to those in need. Look, there are so many people. There are people in the sports, the culture, the youth, the arts. There are so many people that could have been found and we could have put them forward. I don't know what happened. I'm not going to delve into that. I don't think that's relevant. What I think is relevant that is maybe the criteria. What has to happen? How can organizations or the common man put up somebody's name to get a royal decoration? Because I know normally it's board members that they sit down and write up the stories, but I think if the criteria is put out there, that people know what has to happen, and maybe the governor's office can do this, put out the criteria, and then have all the recommendations be sent to the committee or to the governor's office, and then it can be handled with the governor and the committee, so that at least next year we don't feel that on King's Day we have nobody, because there are a lot of people in Sint Maarten that deserve a royal decoration. A lot have gone and done the extra mile for many a years. And I think sometimes there are people you don't even know about that have been doing for 20 years, taking care of the elderly in the neighborhoods, through the community councils and so. So I really honestly believe we should honor these type of people. So again, like I said, it is something that caught my eye. I saw the article of the governor and I said, wow, let me talk about this a minute. In closing, I read an article in one of the online medias where it spoke of politics in Carnival, promoting oneself in Carnival, and that it would change Carnival moving forward forever. I think politics has always been in Carnival. You just need to know which angle to look for. Look on the sponsorship, you'll see how politics plays a major role in Carnival. Who gets money for troops, who gets money for bands, listen, has been there. Who gets permits to vend, has been there. Politics has always played a role in Carnival. Now, there was one politician who said he's going to be running a person, and he promoted a band, a good band. No Limit Band. And he put up a big banner, Vision for St. Maarten. And that is now seen as a political gimmick. Is it political? I would want to believe so. Is it a gimmick? Absolutely not. The good gentleman has been speaking on radio once a week, has been going around. Everybody knows the green banner with the 2 M's in it, what it means. So if you didn't know it before, you know it now. The tourists, them, I'm sure they're saying, oh, wonderful, beautiful banner. They have no clue what it was. It said Vision Works. Again, we are making more out of something than we should be. I understand. I understand the author. Nothing to write, so write some stupidity as normal. But again, other candidates also promoted bands, also promoted groups, helped with costumes, shows in the village. I mean, look. Carnival is a business, all right? It's not a cultural parade, it's a business. Let's not forget that. And everybody sells. You want to go and market in the village? You pay for that. Pay for free. You want to sell a Coca-Cola in there? You pay for that. Pay for free. This is what Carnival has become. This is how they can be self-sustainable. They too need to find a way to make money. So do bands. Bands need to find sponsors. And it ain't as if there's a list of 50 to 100 people sponsoring bands today. Bands, when they have opening jump up, closing jump up, Juve, they're not paid. They're playing for the crowd, but they're not paid for what it costs to put a band on the road. It costs you thousands of dollars. Generator, speaker systems, and all. It costs you thousands and thousands of dollars. So somebody says, I'm willing to do it, but I want to put up a banner. Oh, now the Carnival will never be the same anymore. Well, nonsense. You know, I would have loved that an article was written, a critical article was written about the nudity and the vulgarity and the profanity in the songs. While I know SCDF addressed it, I understood, and they even threatened to pull a DJ, a band off the road if they don't stop. It wasn't enough. This year, St. Maarten's Carnival left a bitter taste in the mouths of many. My talk show of last week, Tuesday, clearly illustrated that. So again, while nothing against nobody, because we all have a right to play Carnival, you just need to be a little more considerate when you're playing Carnival on public roads, because the Carnival should also be for everybody, not just for the revelers, but also for the onlookers. So we need to find a better balance. That's all I'm saying with it. I'd like to say a very special thank you to a very critical writer, Mr. Terence Ray. Mr. Ray and me don't always see eye to eye with his articles. We don't always. But I was happy that he addressed the Richard Moss case, the verdict of the Richard Moss case, in a writing that he did last week. And when I read it, it was crystal clear that the reference to my case was based on the emptiness of my case and that of Richard Moss, and that prosecutors should not try to run politics and governments through going after politicians with wishy-washy cases. I was happy to read it, because at least now this author's work is written here but read abroad, especially in the Netherlands. He's a respected writer in the Netherlands. So I felt that my story got a boost And for that, I say thank you very much, Mr. Ray. You know, I believe in justice. I still do. Don't believe in some of the things that are happening in justice. But yeah, when 25 million euros is put into something, they need results. And if they have to fabricate the results, then they will fabricate them. That's life. I understand it. I am one of them that will fight it. But like I said in the past, if you don't have the money, oh, you're in a lot of trouble. I called the gentleman because I read something on Facebook and I found it kind of strange. Because this is the first time I'm encountering something like this. And it says, something is definitely crazy in this country. Only my song on the website cut out from the start when I mentioned VROMI selling land to Chinese and the Indians. I'm asking any law enforcement department to note. I can prove this claim. I am willing to testify everything I know and pinpoint it all. It's a ring protecting each other in government. I could even pinpoint overseas development link to the mention above by district and street number. My question is, there no justice in this country? Do I have to sing more calypso before anyone takes action? This was a post on Facebook. I called the author, I spoke to the author, and I asked him if I could use it and read it. Because if this is true, and he says he can prove it, then I think the problems by VROMI only started now to get very, very, very serious. So we have members of parliament not showing up all week for meetings, but they know exactly where the departure hall gate is for Parlatino. We have had so many parliamentarians going to Parlatino in the last 3-4 weeks that we couldn't even have quorum to have a meeting. Meetings that were cancelled for nearly a year still today cannot be finalized. The committee of VROMI was one, as was stated once again today on the front page of the Daily Herald. People elections are in the air, and many will be coming to ask you for your vote. You can make a serious difference this coming election. Use your vote wisely and put people in parliament that care and understand how to care. I am going to make myself the spokesperson for the elderly. The elderly feel neglected, they feel voiceless, they even feel that nobody cares about them. I want to tell you that's not true. For the past 4 years, I have publicly, in the capacity of vying for office, being elected to office, sitting in office, and even after, while being suspended on my podcast, I have stood for the elderly. Last week, Wednesday, I made 60 years, and I found it fitting on that day to go to a talk show with Mr. Oral Gibbs on 99.9 FM, Hot Radio, to give a message of hope to the seniors. Claudius Anthony Bancampa pledges to be your voice. You have strength. You can vote people into office. You need to put people in office that truly care for you, that truly want to make a difference for you, that truly want to ensure that your taxes are not put back on to your pension, but that they are off. We need to come together as one. I have served in a civic movement called the Lions Club for close to 35 years. And the one thing we are taught is to serve mankind without asking for anything in return. Most people don't understand that. Some of them are jumping on bandwagons now and joining service clubs to say on their resume, I too care. 1 or 2 years is wishful. 35 years is a lifetime. I need you all to remember these things. Please share my podcast and also like and subscribe to my YouTube page. I want to wish all of you a great week ahead. Next week I'll not have a podcast as I'm one of the lecturers at the Regional Lions Leadership Institute. And after that, the Sint Maarten Lions Club will be hosting hundreds of Lions from throughout the Caribbean and some even from in the Americas that are coming to the multiple District 60 convention, which will be held in Sint Maarten from, I believe it is the 16th to the 20th, the 21st. So I will be busy, so you will not hear or see me next week on a live podcast. I'll be back the week after. But for now, from me to you, Bunks is out. Take care and have a great week.